We're gonna be installing a long travel kit. Now we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is gonna be a long day. Before we get started, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what we have here on the tables. The companies I wanna give a huge shout out to is while that's drying, we're right here on the spindle. So we've now sanded it off so that way we can get it ready for welding. You're gonna notice this here. What you wanna do is mock it up first just to make sure that it's actually gonna clear. Sometimes your spindle may be bent and this is not going to work. And if that were to happen to you, you're gonna need to purchase a new spindle, unfortunately. And like I said, these things are expensive. You wanna make sure to mock it up, make sure it's gonna fit. Once you've mocked it up and you know it will, then you can go ahead and start welding these. There are different companies that make this. I just went with Total Chaos just to go ahead and have exactly the same brand all the way around. All right, so it's basically done. Right now we're just gonna let it cool down. As you guys can see, it's already welded on this side, and if you look at it from the inside, it's also welded in there. So you wanna make sure it's welded on both sides. That way it's nice and secure, and this thing won't bend anymore. But once again, like I said, we're gonna let this thing cool down. We're gonna finish up with the other side as well, and then from there we can go ahead and go painting. Now that everything's welded on, we're just painting these things. That way it's gonna look nice and new, and of course these things won't rust out. I am kind of sad because of the rainbow color that was on it. It looked really nice. Would have been cool to just kind of show that off, but it's fine. This is gonna do it. Coming back to the table here, I have everything kind of laid out. That's gonna be for the driver's side. Passenger side, we already have installed, but I'm not gonna show you guys just yet. I wanna save it till we finish the driver's side. So coming back over here, well, the first thing we're gonna start off with is gonna be the lower control arm. Once again, these are from Total Chaos. I did get them from TacomaBeast.com, so if you wanna get yours, it's gonna be right here with the discount code. But these bad boys here are the 2+ kit long travel. So I'm gonna be super excited to try these out off-road. Go ahead and get yours. They do offer the bigger one, which I believe is a 3.5-inch kit. So if you guys wanna get that. But for me, I went with the 2+ kit. So once again, we're gonna go ahead and now start off with the bottom. Coming right over here while we bring it, we're gonna reinstall it right here in the lower. As far as the bolts that are gonna go through there, we're gonna be reusing the same cam bolts that we had taken off previously from the stock arms. Now that the lower control arm is kind of installed, up next what we need to do is grab the coilover, and it's going to come with the provided hardware that you're going to need to install this. It's going to come with 3 bolts for each side and 3 lock washers for each side as well. So we'll grab that as hardware and the coilover. Move on to the truck. So for the coilover, what you want to do is start off with those bolts that I had told you, which go on the top, as you guys can see there. So we've done many coilover installs already on my channel, so if you want to check those out, go back to like when we installed our Kings or any of that on the truck. But basically, just to show you guys really quick, there's 1 bolt that's going to go there, 1 bolt that's there, and 1 bolt is going to go back here. You're not going to be able to see it on camera, but it's back there. You guys will see it in person. One tip I could tell you guys before you do anything else, make sure you guys tighten all those 3 all the way in, hand tight, but make sure they're all the way in. Keep that in mind. Trust me, it's going to save you a headache if you don't do that. Right, so in the package, you're going to get a couple of these bolts. You want to go ahead and get the medium-sized one. So let me show you guys so you get a better picture. So in the package, you're going to get a set of bolts, nuts, and washers. You're going to want to get the bolt that's the middle size. So you can see this one's small, this one's taller. You're going to have 2 of these. These are going to be for the lower control arm, which you'll see right now. So go ahead and grab 1 of these for now, for one of the sides. You want to grab 2 washers, as you guys can see there, that are going to fit inside of this, and you want to grab 1 of the nylon locking nuts. So coming right over here, this is going to be the brand new hardware for the bottom of the coilover, which is going to go through here. And keep in mind, the bolt's going to go in through the back to the front, and you're going to want to go ahead and have a washer in it, just like that. Once it comes through, you'll put another washer, and then you'll put that nylon locking nut. Keep that in mind. Just to show you, so if you notice on this side, the head of the bolt went through, there's the washer there. When it came out through this side, you put another washer, you put the nylon locking nut. Keep in mind, for right now, you just want to go ahead and hand tighten this bottom section here. Up next, what we need to do is now install the uppers. Up next, you're going to need to install the Total Chaos upper control arm. So with this here, as far as the hardware that you're going to be using, it's going to be the factory one that came through there on your factory truck. So as you guys can see, we have it just dangling here for now. And then of course we have the washer right here that we're going to need to put on there, and then we'll slide it through the hole. One thing to take note on though, I'm not going to lie to you guys, this section here might get just a little bit difficult, only because now we have an extra bracket here, so it kind of takes away the space for us to bring it up. So it's doable. We've already done it when we test fitted the shock and test fitted everything. So it is doable. It's just take your time with it. You don't want to try to jam it in and end up tearing any of those seals in there or just messing something up. It's doable. Take your time. Just to show you guys, we got it in the first section there. I have another one of those washers right here. Bolts going through it, but then when you come right here, you're going to kind of run into the same issue that you had here, which is kind of getting it straight right in the middle of the hole. You're going to struggle a little bit, but you know how it goes. You just got to get it in the hole somehow. And it needs to come out right here once you get it right in the hole. And then of course you put another washer and that nut. Now that we got it all the way through the hole, you guys can see it here. We put another washer back here and a washer out here with the nut. So now that that's done, you just want to go ahead and same thing, hand tighten that for now. Up next, what we're going to be working on is the axle. So we're going to go ahead and now start mounting that. So the axles that I did get, I ended up getting them from CVJ Axles. So if you guys want to get yours, you can get them from there. I got it that way through them because they already come pre-assembled. I believe Total Chaos also sells some axles, but you have to assemble them, and I think it reuses your old ones. So it may be cheaper, but just keep that in mind. You're going to have to rebuild them. As far as these ones, they already come built. They are a little bit more pricey, but it's going to be a plug-and-play application. So we're going to go ahead and pop these in. I really do wish this was a different color and not green, but whatever. You're not going to really see it. So we're going to pop this bad boy into the truck now, and you want to do the same thing to the opposite side. All right, so now that you saw this thing's popped in, one thing to take note on, if you're not strong, if you're weak like me, that's going to be really difficult to pop that in. Just so you guys know on the axles. At this point, what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and now start mounting your strap. So here is the bump stop coming up right here. You're going to want to go ahead and mount the plate right here. It's where it's supposed to be properly mounted for Total Chaos. So keep that in mind. Coming down here, you're going to notice there is a welded washer already on the Total Chaos arms. The reason why is because your limit strap is going to go on this side, and your shock, if you have a bypass, will go on this side. So essentially it's going to be coming up right here, and it's going to get welded. Here's the coilover. It's going to get welded in this area here. The mounts for the limit straps are going to look like this. Just in case yours don't come like this, you might have to weld them together, but they should already come welded with the little wings. Of course, there's two of them in the kit, one for each side, which once again, depending on what type of long travel kit you did get as far as the arms, it'll depend on where you're going to mount this. So let me go ahead and come back over here and show you. Coming back right over here, the long travel kit from Dirt King, they're going to have a mount that goes here, which you'd actually want to mount the strap in this area. So right now what you guys just saw is we were grinding it down right here, grinding it down on this side, and that's where the mount for the limit strap is going to go. So right now we're just going to go ahead and weld that on, and then we'll go ahead and put the limit strap, and then we could do the same exact step to the other side, put the bypass on, and keep going. So just to show you, so as you guys can see, it's mounted in between these two here, which that is the bump stop, and then that's the coil over there. So it's mounted right there and kind of like in the center, if you can see that there. And that's where we're going to go ahead and mount the limit strap, which is going to go connected once again down here on the left side there. So up next, what we're going to be working on is going to be the bypass. So coming right over here, here is the bypass. You don't need to purchase this, of course, but I'd recommend it if you're going long travel and trying to go to this extent. It's going to make a big difference. So there's the bypass. As far as the hardware, coming back over here to this table, what you want to do is, if you guys remember, I showed you guys a bunch of these bolts. So you want to get the smallest one, and then you're going to want to go ahead and get two of the washers washers, and the nylon locking nut. So that's what we're going to need up next, of course, with the bypass. When putting these on, they are site specific, so keep that in mind. So what you want to do here is kind of put it in the hole, and then you want to start working with the bolt and that washer. You're going to have to feed it right through that, and then on this side it's going to be another washer and that nylon locking nut. Damn, I could already see it, you guys. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to look really, really good once it's fully installed, and it's just going to perform very well. So if we're ever in a trial run and you guys are there, if you want to test it, be my guest. Now that we're done installing here, you're going to notice there is the bolt, there is the washer, there's the other washer, and there's the nylon locking nut. So up next, what we're going to be doing is working on the bottom here. I did want to let you guys know, to properly cycle these, you're most likely going to have to take out the nitrogen that's inside of them. If not, it's going to be super hard to bring this thing up. I mean, it's doable, but it's going to be pretty tough for you guys to do. So we just ended up taking it out. We have the correct tools here to refill it, so we're not worried about it. So up next, we're going to now start working right here at the bottom to go ahead and put the bolt right through. Let's go to the hardware and show you guys. If you guys do remember, I told you guys you have some bolts. So we're going to go ahead and grab this last big one that we have here, and then you're going to need to grab the two washers. Keep in mind though, some of the washers here are going to be smaller. You want to go ahead and grab two of the slightly bigger ones, which are these two here, and you're going to want to go ahead and grab one of those nylon locking nuts. So let's go to the truck now and install this. So now that we have it in its place, up next is you're going to want to go ahead and grab that bolt and washer and that other washer and that nut that I previously showed you guys. So it's going to go in through this side. So there's the bolt head. So now all we need to do is put the bolt in. Once again, that was the bolt that I showed you guys earlier to grab. Bolt head goes through here with that washer. We're going to put it all the way through. If you guys are having trouble, you just go ahead and kind of go either up or down with the lower control arm. Coming back to the table over here, as far as hardware, what we're going to need is inside the bag, you're going to get two of these bad boys here. You're going to see this. So go ahead and grab one per side. And then of course, once again, we're going to grab the bracket that we just took off from the factory lowers. And we're going to go ahead and reinstall it. It's going to go kind of the same way that it was on the factory one. We're going to be using this brand new hardware. Coming back to the truck here, now we have the spindle on hand. Make sure you guys do gusset your spindles, because with a long travel kit like this, especially if you guys send it, you're going to most likely bend this. So ours is gusseted. We're ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and now mount it. You want to go ahead and kind of put it over the axle here and then put it in its position. While doing so though, you do want to have that bottom bracket and that bolt that I just showed you guys kind of ready to put in. So if you guys do have two people, of course that always helps, but this is doable by yourself. So taking it apart, you're going to notice there's that bolt going right through it. You can tell that's the brand new hardware that I told you guys to grab. So you guys should have that bolt coming down right here. On the other side was where this bushing and the washer and the nut came off through there. So go ahead and put that big bushing there, put it in its position, put that bracket from the factory one, put the brand new washer, put the nut, and then from there, just hand tighten for right now. Going back to the uppers before we put on that spindle, you're gonna wanna make sure these things are put in place. And then inside that bag of the hardware, you're gonna notice you should have two of these big bolts that we haven't used yet. These are gonna go right up top right here. Basically like that. That's what's gonna go into the spindle. So let me show you guys. So we're gonna get started. So you wanna make sure to put the washer right there. And then we're gonna come back to the upper. And then you drop the bolt. This piece here, which is also provided, you want to make sure to put it in right there. The spindle will go into place. You're going to slide it in. So now that I explained to you guys about the spindle, now you can go ahead and put it in place. And right now we just put the bottom nut for that big bolt. That was also provided in the kit with the bolt. This one here won't have nylon locking with it, and there's only going to be two of those big ones in the bag. So keep that in mind. These don't have nylon, and it's only two of them in the bag. Coming down here, up next what we need to do is tighten down this bracket here. So once we tighten that down, we can then bring back the spindle in its place and start working on the bottom end by installing these brackets to this. And in this section here, depending on what long travel kit you have, for example, like with the Dirt Kings, it does come with a spacer right here to put on the spindle to go to this bottom bracket. As far as with mine on the Total Chaos, it's not going to need it. So that's the cool thing about the Total Chaos kit. It actually helps bring it up a little bit so that it'll act as more ground clearance. So keep that in mind when you guys are choosing your long travel kit. So now that's tightened down all the way. Up next, once again, now we're going to bring down the spindle. We're going to put the axle right through it, and then we can tighten down this bottom bracket. One thing to note, it's going to be hard now since you did tighten it, so if you do need to move this around to match it up, you can use like a rubber mallet just to be safe. This is going to be the fun part. This is going to be the exciting part because we're almost done. Heck yeah. Look how beautiful this puzzle is looking, you guys. I can't wait to show you guys once everything is mounted. We'll give you guys a good look, but as far as right now, we're going to continue this. Now that we kind of have it aligned, we're going to go ahead and start off with one bolt. The bolts that go there are the ones from the factory, so the ones that you had taken off previously, you're going to need to reuse those. There's nothing changing about this. And there it is. Once you've torqued these bad boys down right here, now you want to move on to the top over here, and now we're going to go ahead and tighten these here. So with this one, you're going to need a wrench at the bottom, and then of course up top, I'd use a ratcheting wrench to bring this in. These are tightened to spec. Up next, what we need to do is tighten these bottom ones of the coilover all the way down, and then we still need to tighten these three up here all the way to spec as well. And then basically mounting everything is done. All we'll have left over now is going to be the resis and finishing this stuff up. We've tightened up there, we've tightened down here to spec. Up next, what we're going to need to do is start mounting this front resi, which is going to go right about here. We need to play with it a little bit, but I'm just kind of giving you guys an idea. So coming back over here to the hardware kit, you're going to have a bunch of these little things in the baggie. So you want to go ahead and grab two for now. So these are going to be basically what mounts the resi onto the frame, and they're going to go right about here, which we'll show you guys in a bit. And then another thing that you're going to need inside the kit is going to be some of these hose clamps. One thing to take note, I would highly suggest ordering a couple extra of these just in case you mess them up. I would do some heat shrink before installing them. So open this bad boy up, throw a heat shrink on there, like a black one, and then that way you could, when you go to reinstall them onto it, that way the reservoir doesn't really show this, and it just looks nice and clean, nice and black under there. Unfortunately, we don't have any heat shrink today, so we're going to run it silver, but I'm just giving you guys an idea for yours. Just a quick note for you guys, I would go ahead and mock up the brackets just so you guys kind of get an idea where you're going to need to weld. If you don't do that and you go ahead and weld it, your bracket, or I should say your resi, may be sideways, or it's just not going to look right. So mock the stuff up before you actually start welding. Before welding, we are going to need to sand a little bit, so that way we get to the bare metal, and that way the welds actually heal properly. So once you have it all sanded properly and you know where it's going to go, now up next is the position of these. So you're going to notice there is like a round groove right here. And then if you look on the back side, it does have like two little feet. The two little feet are going to go onto the frame, and that's what's going to need to get welded on. I'll be honest with you guys, welding this, you don't have to go crazy on it. I mean, it's just a resi, it doesn't weigh much, but just to give you guys an idea. Once you've welded that, you want to go ahead and let it cool down. Throw some spray paint on there, which once again, like we had said earlier, the paint that we're using is to steel it. So we're going to make it look nice and clean, and then we can go ahead and mount it. While this dries out here, we're moving on to the spindle. You got to make sure to put this bracket back on. If you guys do remember, it was on your factory spindle. So go ahead and put that back on, and then we can go ahead and go from there. We still need to put, of course, our tie rod extension as well, and then you guys will see. So now you have that in place, go ahead and grab your hub and your brake cover and go ahead and install that. Exactly the way you had taken it off previously, it's going to be the same exact way to reinstall it. Here in this position, you are going to kind of need to play with the axle a little bit to kind of make this align with it. So just kind of take your time with it, align everything, and then you can go ahead and slowly hand tighten the 4 bolts that we had previously taken off. Now that that's bolted down, moving over here, we've now put the nut. So we need to tighten that down, and then we need to put the cap on. Now we can move to the next thing. So for this one, you need to bring out the big guns, as you guys can see there. It is, you guys, it's all tightened down to spec. with those big guns. Next, you want to go ahead and grab this, and you're going to notice there's grooves on it. You want to go ahead and make sure to align this properly. And the reason I say properly is if you see up top there is a little hole. So you want to make sure the hole is showing, because we're going to be replacing it in there with a cotter pin. Okay. And keep in mind, the cotter pins do not come provided, so you're going to have to provide that for yourself. You could probably reuse the old one, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say just get a brand new one. They're fairly cheap. Of course, once that's in place, so now you grab your cap and just go ahead and hammer it on. That's done, we'll go ahead and start mounting the resi. So now that we have the resi installed here, you're gonna notice it's not gonna go anywhere anymore. One thing to take note on these resis is you are going to have to push this bracket forward just a little to make sure to clear these. So now the next step here is going to be extending the brake lines. So with the Total Chaos kit, it does come with extended brake lines. So you wanna go ahead and install those at this time. Just to show you guys, here's the brand new steel braided brake line. It's installed from the top already, so now we just need to install it from this side. Here. Now we're putting on the rotor and the caliper, of course, so we can go ahead and connect the steel braided brake line onto the caliper now. Keep in mind, even after this install, I would suggest still checking your brake fluid, making sure you're not at a low level, especially if you have friends like this. No, I'm just kidding. So let me give you guys the update. So right here, we've now reinstalled the caliper. We put the 2 bolts that go in the back to hold it in place. The brand new brake line is right here. If you guys do remember the old brake line that was there, we've taken it off along with the bracket and replaced it with that bad boy there. So it comes right about here. This black bracket that you're seeing here was the one that was factory on the spindle, so make sure to have that reinstalled. And you reinstall the caliper line, which is here, onto the brake line. So once that's done, up next what you would have to do is go ahead and go back into your engine bay, pull out your ABS line that you had tucked away previously, which is here, and you want to go ahead and feed it and just kind of reinstall it exactly the way you had taken it off from the factory. So everything's now clipped back in, including here, that's now clipped back in. So now that that's all done, all we really have left is, of course, to reinstall the cam bolts down there all the way, kind of torque them to spec. And then from there, all we have is this resi. And then we also need to extend the tie rod, which that also comes provided with the Total Chaos kit. One thing I do want to let you guys know, whenever working with suspension in this much extent, as far as like with us that we did the lowers, you're going to need an alignment. So just keep that in mind. You're going to need an alignment right after this. So heck yeah. We're going to go ahead and now mount this bad boy. It does mount about right here. So you guys will see right now once we're done. Just to give you guys a quick picture, this is how it should look when it's mounted. On the opposite side, the L will be on top, but for the driver's side, it looks like it goes in this position here. Just to give you guys a look so you guys aren't confused on the writing. Keep in mind, even if it is backwards, I mean, this is just for looks, if I'm being quite honest with you guys. So you don't have to worry too much about it, but we did it as best as possible. So now that it's mounted with the hose clamps, and one thing to take note on, when you're trying to remove this nut, you're gonna notice, I mean, there's no real grip of grabbing it, but if you see there is. So you can go ahead and put a wrench on this and a wrench on that, and then loosen this thing up. We're gonna need to remove this end, like I said, to put the extension that came with the Total Chaos kit. Once you have it off like that, let me show you guys the extension that comes in the kit. All right, so in the Total Chaos kit, it's gonna come with this extension here, which is gonna go here. So what you do is by hand, just go ahead and tighten it. And then on the opposite side, that's where you put the tie rod in. I feel like you're gonna butt rape me. Once you have that tie rod extension put in and tightened down, up next, you're gonna need to go ahead and put it on the knuckle now. So go ahead and take off this nut, which is the factory one that was already on the tie rod end, and we'll go ahead and place it there. So now that everything is kind of put back together, let me show you. So it is mounted there, coming up here. It is mounted right there in the center, if you guys can see that. If you can get this a little bit straighter, that's better, but that should still work. You ready for take 10? Alright, you guys, so before I move out the way to show you how it looks, I do want to give a big shout out to a couple of these companies that did help out with this build. So first of all, I do got to give a big shout out to my good friend Jerry, which is better known as BeastFab. As always, his information is in every single video in the description box below. So make sure to check him out for all your installs and fabrication needs. And I do want to give a big shout out to Tacoma Beast for getting this stuff done and shipped to me right away as far as the Total Chaos kit. And I do want to give a huge thanks to Locked Off-Road for making this setup happen for me. And of course, Archive Garage, I gotta give a big shout out to them as well. Once again, anything that you saw today in this video, make sure to let me know. If you guys don't see them live on the website, I'll go ahead and get in contact for you and get things going. So if you guys do want to run this similar setup, once again, go check everybody out. All their informations are going to be in the description box below. Let me get out the way and give you a quick look.